Hey everyone, and in this chess video, I managed to beat a 2040 rated over-the-board player in just 30 moves with a 95.2% accuracy. I'm a 16-year-old, 2200 online player from Minnesota, and let's see how I did it. Hey everyone, so in this video, I don't have the before and after thing. Reason being was I kind of was taking a nap after the previous round. I woke up a couple minutes before I had to play, so I kind of had to rush down and play. So yeah, no, all I knew about my opponent going into this was that he had just made a comeback to chess after about a decade, and that he was at least 2100 strength. And so he was going to be tough, but I have the white pieces, and I managed to beat a 2000 in the first round because his updated rating was 2000, I think 20, and this guy's 2000 40-ish. So yeah, so I was just ready. I was gonna go play. No expectations, but yeah, we started out with c4, knight f6, and then he thought for a while and then played d5, and here I had a choice, okay, which is because of the move order I played. As he told me after the game, he's usually an e6 player, but e6 in this move order allows pawn to e4, and you get a very different game, and he didn't want to go into that, so he ended up playing the Grunfeld. And eventually in this position, after he went g6, I'm like, okay, here's what I can do. I can either go with this move g3 and pretty much play like it's in English, bishop d2 and anti-Grunfeld, or I can go into it. And I had a big psychological read on my opponent here. So this is outside of the chessboard. I'm like, he seems pretty unconfident, okay? And generally, if I'm facing a confident Grunfeld player, I will not go into the Grunfeld because they know what they're doing. They'll be pressuring you the whole game. They give you the center, and then they just rip it apart. But something about the way he's playing, I'm like, you know what? He seems hesitant. And so, I said, you know what? Let's see. Let's see who knows the Grunfeld better. So I played this main move, the classical, bishop c4, c5, all pretty standard stuff. And then castles, and then he plays bishop g4. So this is the main move. I know this pretty well, and after f3, he went knight a5, and this does allow a line where he sacrifices a pawn, where I go bishop takes, and obviously after rook takes, I go here. But I figured that line was something that I wasn't super familiar with, and he told me after the game that he was really familiar with it, so I think it was smart of me to play this a lot more conservative line of bishop d3. Pretty much bringing the bishop back, holding everything together. I'm not trying to commit to anything yet, and now I'm forcing his bishop to move. And yeah, then he plays this move, bishop d7 here. I was okay, he doesn't know what he's doing. Because generally the move there was c takes, and then bishop e6, trying to bait this, which then goes in some crazy rook sacrifice line. I could explain it. It's all pretty well known, that whole sacrificial line, but I didn't really want to go into that, so queen d2, looking to trade off, and then he plays bishop a4. And I figured that his point of the move was that he didn't want me to put a rook on the d file, but I don't think I was ever intending to. I was either planning to put my rook here, and I don't think I was ever planning on trying to hold on to the center thing. So this move, I thought it was kind of slow. And here I took about 10 minutes, and I was really deciding between rook a to c1, which is just a super standard move in the Grunfeld, or I was deciding between this move d5. So my problem with d5, or why I didn't go for it, it is a good move, is I'm just I'm not sure if I want to commit to anything. And after this, I get that we get a bishop trade, but I don't know, this bishop just seems kind of weird, and I'd rather to keep his pieces on the side. And I just wasn't sure if I was ready to open up. I'm I don't know what I want to do with my center yet, so I figured let's trade off the bishops first. Computer says inaccuracy, but I figured, you know what, let's get my queen into his position, and let's see if I can make something happen. Bishop takes, queen takes, and then he played this move e5. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, wait a minute. That's not right. So e5, it's a pretty standard move in the Grunfeld. It's pretty standard central strike, and I think that it would make a lot of sense, except that he missed a little detail, which is that, and if you're wondering all the different lines, I can't take it because then I just lose my bishop, and I can't really push because he just goes c4, and after bishop e1, pieces are terrible, and it's just, So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and I spent a couple minutes, and then I realized, wait a minute. I have an absurd move here, but I think it makes a lot of sense. It's this move pawn to f4. And you see, the point behind pawn to f4 is what I calculated was that after pawn to f4, best move, and after pawn to f4, and if you were to take, I was just going to go f5. And suddenly, if you were to take here, and you know, if I give him my bishop, I should go here, and I just made him. So I'm like, okay, like clearly he has to do something about it. And I was planning after queen here. I was like, wait a minute, don't I just have this? Queen's attacked, and after the queen takes, I was planning on just going here, and then I was like, wait a minute, don't I just go here, here, and here, and win the game? So I'm like, okay, so I'm seeing all of these lines from this position. I'm like, okay, it has to be the best move, and it was f4, and he's a very strong player, f6, and then I'm like, okay, well, I can either bring a rook to the center, but I'm like, you know what, let's make him expand a bit more. So I play pretty quickly pawn to f5, because after pawn to g5, I'm like, okay, well, I've accomplished something. Now, maybe this is possible, and there's got to be a way. And I'm like, how do I bring more pieces into the attack? And then here, I remembered something very, very important, which is there's this concept in chess called the initiative. Okay, so the initiative is the person who is making the threats that have to be responded to. And the initiative is the most powerful weapon you have in chess. So the initiative, if you have it, you have to keep it, because it can really quickly fizzle. And I saw something, and I saw a move here, and I'm thinking, and I spent a lot of time here, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Remember how a few moves back, I can't open up the center because the queen takes? Well, there's a crucial difference here, and it's that suddenly this pawn is really weak, and my queen's here. And if I just take, he gets my bishop, but I get to his king. And so I'm pretty much saying in this position, you may win material, but I only need to get to your king and I win the game. And here I was pretty, I mean, obviously if he takes here, that's just checkmate and one. But I was pretty certain that his move queen e3 was best, which then I was planning on going king h1. And now after rook f7 guarding it, I was planning on putting my rook here. And pretty much after something like knight c4, I go with this move, threatening a bunch of things. He has take it, pretty much loses the queen, and then I guess go here and here, and I just get a queen, and I have a huge attack. So that I saw all of that, and that's what I thought was his best option to mitigate damage. But then he went rook f7, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, he just gave up the g5 pawn, so take it. And the king moved, and then I'm like, okay, how do I bring more pieces in? Well, pretty obvious. My knight's being attacked. I move in and attack the queen. Not hard chess. He pins the knight, so now I really wanted to go with this move here in the future after my king moves from the check, but I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do it yet. So I'm like, okay, well, now I'm just threatening this, so he guards the queen, and then I'm just like, okay, let's go rook f3. Let's bring another piece into the attack. He attacks my queen. I move out of the way. I didn't really want to trade things off quite yet. And then he sacked a rook. And then here I'm like, okay, I understand his idea, which is that after takes, he goes here. But I'm like, don't I just have this? And now, obviously, if takes, I just go here and mate him. And then he went here, and then I'm just like, wait, the game has to be over at this point. And I'm like, what do I do though? And so I spent a bit, and eventually I decided I might not be able to get to the king right now, and I think that I was, at this point, we were both getting decently low on time because I had been spending a lot of time trying to figure out how to make this attack work. And then I'm like, honestly, this might not be the best, but I just kind of want to trade stuff off. So I went with this move knight g6, and then after the following captures, I win a pawn. And now what is funny is that he can't even win this really bad pawn back because I just win the rook, and after king here, rook here, and pretty much, or I could just take his bishop on the spot, like that works too, but it's just game over at this point. So that pawn just stuck. So he attacks my rook. Cheeky little move here. Another cute little sacrifice, but then I checkmate him, and so he stops the checkmate. And now I'm just being patient. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just going to guard. Because, again, this is very important. I didn't want to mess up like in the previous tournament where I blundered a checkmate sequence when I was completely winning. So I'm like, okay. I'm at this point, I'm getting really nervous. I'm about to beat my best opponent ever, like a 2040, who's at least like 2100 in reality. And I'm just like, okay, I'm playing great. I'm attacking material. Now all I need to do is hold on. So he goes King H7, and I'm like, okay, well, we're just gonna play nice and simple. I'm just gonna trade off rooks. Not gonna think too hard. He moves the pawn that was under attack, and I'm just like, you know what? What can you do? He's in Zugzwang. He pretty much can't move anywhere like without it being good, because my queen comes in and these pieces are tied down. So I'm just like, I'm just completely winning. So he goes queen here, check, king up, rook e7. He resigns. I mean, point being, after everything takes, I just get a new queen and made him, and it's just terrible. And yeah, I beat him. In fact, I crushed him. So my accuracy in this game, if you want to see, was an absolutely absurd 95.2% accuracy. So, geez, this is a huge confidence boost. Where I'm like, okay, I'm now 2 out of 3. Going into day 2, and I just beat 2000s, and I'm just like, I'm playing great chess. And yeah, so it looks like I'm going to be facing someone really good. So let's see what happens tomorrow. But I hope you enjoyed this recap, because this game was a ton of fun, and it really goes to show just how powerful the initiative is. I gave him pieces and I gave him whatever, but at the end of the day, I got to his king first, and then I just simplified, because not every attack has an end in mate. And yeah, I was really proud of this game. It was just a brilliant, just really good attacking game, and I was just very controlled. I made some good calculations. I think bishop h6 might have been a bit weird, but I mean, it worked in the end, so certainly can't complain. But yeah, it was a ton of fun playing against the Grunfeld. It's one of my favorite openings to play against, just because of the chaos. And yeah, I'm glad to have had this opportunity, and I'm just, at this point, I'm like, you know what, I can lose the next 2 games and I'm happy. I'm already up like 60 rating points. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.